Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang back again with another Darkfish Collections review, and today I'm going to do a comparison again, but this time it's going to be of the Mafex Black and Gray Dark Knight Returns Batman versus the Mezco version of the Black and Gray suit Dark Knight Returns Batman. So the first thing we're going to do is accessories, and I pretty much so from these kind of reviews I'm omitting the stands. The one that comes with Mezco is far superior than that comes with Mafex. So I mean, unless stands are your make or break, but most people I know the stands are not even close to a make or break thing with most figures. So really not in my main concern when it comes to purchasing a figure. Maybe for yours. So that being said, you know, just ask a friend, check it out, you know, Google it, you'll find the answers, what you want to know about those. But that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into what does come with these figures that is equal across the board, and that is hands and accessory weapons. And I'm going to go over, first off, the heads. So you'll see on each of the figures I have already lined up is their standard neutral head with the mouth closed. We'll get some tight shots of that in a few. But first we're going to look both coming with a growling head with the teeth bared. Now, here is the Mezco one, which I think is very nicely done. Excellent paintwork. I like how gritty and dark the teeth are. I do like the shading around the mouth, I'm not going to lie. The detail of the brow is excellently executed. So I'm very, very pleased with that. Now, I will note some things you're going to notice in the difference in their cowls is, see how the cowl, the head here, kind of just forms into the mold of the pointed ear. It feels like it's just the head is naturally going to that shape. Whereas when we look at the Mafex version, it looks like most standard Batmans where it's not the head just naturally evolving into that shape, but the ear is parting off from the head. In that regard, you see a little bit more of a disconnect between the ears and the shape of the skull. But what really makes these equals, or what really makes these important to comparison, is the scowl. And I will say that color variant wise, or shading and skin coloring wise, I do like the Mafex more. I feel like it's more accurate to human skin color. I think it's more accurate to the comics. The Mezco one, he's a little more light skinned, a little, if you notice here, so I'm holding this one here so you can see it. So hold the two side by side, you'll notice that the Mezco one is a lot more pale. I don't think that's as accurate to the comic, although I think the natural flow of the cowl is. So, you know, you got your 50-50 trade up, but because I like the more natural skin color, I do like the look of the Mafex. But one other thing that I'm going to give the Mezco is that is undeniably a scowl. With the Mafex one, I don't know, maybe it just angles kind of different to me, but sometimes I'm not paying attention. I can look at it and you can almost think it's like a grinning smirk. With Mezco, there's no in between. So that's kind of the head breakdown there. You'll get similar breakdowns. So we'll go ahead and look at the two head sculpts on these. Get these up close and personal. So kind of the same thing I was talking about here is that the skin tone, but you are offered shading in around the lips and the cheeks with the Mezco, where the Mafex you are not. And you do have more wrinkling of the skin with Mezco. That part just representing his age and how withered he is from the years of combating evil. So you do get a little more in the sculpt and shading of Mezco, but I particularly like the Mafex more. Now, that being said, that's because I like the Hush Batman that came out and so forth, and it feels like in line. If you were to look at them as comparisons for age, they look like they would evolve into the next. They fit together. Nothing else in Mezco really fits with the Dark Knight Returns Batman lines as far as any of their other Batman releases. So, you know, it is what it is. It's a standalone piece in that regard, if that makes sense to what I'm saying, or if that makes sense to you. But yeah, if I had to pick head sculpt wise, I mean, the devil's in the details with Mezco. I just wish I could take the coloration of Mezco and pop it right into the skin of the coloration or the skin tone. That's what I'm looking for. I wish I could take the skin tone of the Mafex and apply it to the Mezco. But that's the head sculpt there. Now, hand accessories. You're gonna notice we get more hand accessories, or we get more hands with the Mafex than we do with Mezco. So we have these kind of one for each side, kind of hands that are throwing the batarangs here, so you can kind of place the batarangs in there. And it's him throwing the batarang, as you can see. So you can put a batarang in each section. So that's pretty cool. You could also use it as kind of just a karate or like a Bruce Lee style hand, you know, in terms of the different martial arts he knows. You have, of course, the open palm, which is like him catching something, a fist or a weapon, or throwing something even. Very well detailed. You got some wrinkles in the palms, if you can see those. Very, very well done. You have these gripping hands where you'll notice what's different from the regular punching hands he has, or closed fist, is there's a gap right in the thumb. You see that? And that gap is because you can grab his cape, which is wired, put his cape in between, so you can do poses of him like he's jumping from rooftops, holding the cape. Now, this is where we're going to get the biggest comparison difference in both hands and batarang accessories, is this hand. This hand has slots in all 4 fingers. The reason for those slots is that you can take the batarangs, and it comes with 8 batarangs, by the way, to go into, but you put the batarangs in between each, so he can be throwing multiple, or he could be grasping them like a weapon and punching with them, right? So you have options there, which I really like. Now, before we go into the Mezco, we have to discuss the batarang part, because this is kind of important. Very nice shiny silver. Nice little, they're pointy, nice little batarangs there. Now we get into Mezco's hands, and you do have the open palm hands. Now the gloved hands here, you notice a little bit of difference in detail. You see the actual stitching almost of the gloves. You do see a little bit of wrinkling, although it doesn't feel or look natural. You do get some wrinkling in the palm. So I will say I give the hand, especially considering this is, I know, an older release, but see how much, I don't know if you can see how much trim and extra and a little bit unnatural the hands look as compared to, the Mafex. So I gotta say, in terms of that, I like the Mafex more. You do have the gripping. So this one grips his grapnel gun, right? Or in this case, the pistol that comes with him, which I think is a grapnel gun. I have to go back and read the comic, I don't remember. But same thing, there's some sculpting in the palm, but it doesn't feel as natural as the Mafex does. And going back to the biggest difference we had with the gripping fist for the batarangs and the batarang with the Mafex, in the Mezcos, it comes pre-attached, all 4, like this, and you can't take them out. They're in there. They're black. I don't remember in the comics if you had black batarangs or not, so I'm not gonna, you know, fault for accuracy on that. I'm pretty sure they were silver, but I could be wrong. But this is why I like the Mafex more, because this was a cool concept. When Mezco did it, don't get me wrong, this was cool. And I know a lot of people like it and display it with it. But I have more options if I can do stick tack, or, you know, if I'm doing a picture, if I'm gonna do sticky tack or whatever, doing the batarangs leaving his fingers one by one and showing like a depth of batarangs across as they're being released, versus that hand where you have no option, you're kind of stuck, right? Plus the silver batarangs are gonna offset the black hands, so they're gonna be more noticeable in the pictures. So for me, that, you know, I like the Mezco option, or not the Mezco, but the Mafex option, sorry, both start with M, but I like the Mafex option a lot more because of that. But we're gonna go into the rest of the accessories. So we have the grapnel part here with the thread around it. We have He has an interchangeable boot. This one comes with a holster, which is very, very well done. You got the nicks and the scratches and everything. The strap with the silver buckle. Very, very well done, which you can interchange. And then the gun, which fits in the holster, which has a little peg port here. Nice little gun, looks good. Not some of the best gun work in terms of the handle, but in terms of looks and especially the silver, looks good, and it fits right in the boot, so it's perfect. I mean, it looks great. So we'll put that there like that. Yeah, so I mean, accessory wise, you do get more with Mezco. I'm just, in terms of hands and sculpture and looks, I think, and a little more variety with the batarang and hand option, I like the Mafex more. That's just for me. You might like Mezco more, but that's all on you. So now we're gonna go ahead and look at the actual bodies. We're gonna start with the capes, because that'll be the first thing you'll probably notice looking at these, is how wildly different they look with the capes. So you have just and this is, I want to say it's like a spandex-esque material with these, I don't know if you can see it, rubberized pieces attached to the cape to kind of hold some form, versus Mafex, which is some sort of pleat material. It's a pleated cape underneath and around the back, so the whole cape is pleated. And then there's wire ran here. Yeah, it's just wire ran down the front of each one, right? So wildly different. You have different options. I think I like probably the versatility, I would say, more. Maybe not versatility. I like the way it lays as far as the fabric cape goes. I just don't like how it's just a plain edging. It's just so plain, but if you took it off and put it underneath this and let it flow out, I think it would look fantastic. So I have to say, cape wise, and especially considering this one, the problem with the material is it wrinkles too easy and leaves wrinkles, so it's hard to get the wrinkles out. So you got to do it before your shoots and everything. Like, you notice it's starting to wrinkle. Oh god, knocked it over. You notice it's starting to wrinkle in there. So as far as material goes, I'm going to give that to Mezco on the cape, but we're going to get into, and as far as the hiding articulation, just want to address it out there. With the cloth, you can hide the articulation. With Mafex, obviously, because there's no cloth on it, you don't hide it. So that's going to be like, if not being able to see most articulation is your thing, I mean, obviously looking at the two, the Mezco looks fantastic. I have no problem with Mezco. I think you'll enjoy them. If you're looking at something where you want a little more articulation and versatility, we're going to get into it, but I'm pretty sure you'll end up agreeing with me at the end. Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out. So with articulation, we're going to start with a Mezco. So he can look, can't really look up. He can kind of look down, but not a lot. Of course, you can turn. You've got a little bit of pivot and wobble, but not a lot with him. So not much range there. You can get about here in a T-pose, but you'll notice it starts changing the form. If you're looking about doing a pose that you don't want to stress, this will stress the stitching. So you want to be careful. That's the other big thing that you look at with, is if you're looking at articulation for posing, repeated posing and continuous motion, you can mess up the stitching. This is an older suit by Mezco. It's not quite as well done as the newer ones, which will handle the stress better and have looser parts and areas that are meant to help mess around with and articulate. So you got to be careful, but you'll notice pretty well hidden, looks pretty good on the bicep. Double edge, or not double edge, double jointed elbow. Again, you're starting to notice the stressing right there. So it's about as far as you get there. This rotates, of course, because it's a separate floating piece. You got your peg ball hinge there. You've got your diaphragm, which gets a good way forward, a good way back, but of course the fabric pulls it in because this is one giant bodysuit. You gotta pull this more towards the camera. So that's one giant bodysuit. So you're gonna pull back a little bit. You're not gonna get all the range you want out of it. Turns, of course, you see the wrinkles, but that's fine. You're gonna see wrinkles in fabric, so that's okay. He's got the hip, the floating bottom joint there at the hips. You've got leg articulation. He can kick out pretty good, so that's not bad at all. Double jointed knees, same thing. Look, you're starting to stress the fabric a little bit, but he can almost kick his own. Actually, yeah, he can heel the butt. He can kick his own butt, which is nice. In terms of his knee, you've got a boot swivel. Of course, you've got your thigh swivel. You've got a limited ankle pivot, very limited. And then you can go up that far. Of course, you've got the unnatural cut in it, but it's gonna happen. You can go down that far, which is nice. Same across both boots, right? Now, the other thing, if you look at from an aesthetic standpoint, is the belt is very well done, but doesn't seem to fit as well. I mean, because when I say fit as well, aesthetically, look at everything else cloth, and this looks plasticky. So I kind of would have preferred something that looked more leathery to match the cloth aesthetic. It is what it is. But yeah, you've got, it is a separate piece here, but because you have two separate pieces like this, it's a little more limiting because you're putting multiple layers on that joint. So that is what it is. But yeah, so that's this Batman. Get him into a cool little pose here. Just show you, of course, they both can pose very well. All things considering, I mean, even with limitations, I think he's very, very well done. So that's him. That's the Mezco one. Now we're going to look at the Mafex one. And he is much like his counterpart there, a big beefy boy. These are both fairly wide, fairly broad figures, which they should be, as according to the story, right? So that part makes sense. That part is cool. So we're going to look up. And you'll notice he can look up very well. And then we're going to look down. He can't quite look down as far as his counterpart. Now, that being said, you can shift and get a little more with the joint in the neck, right? He's got a neck joint, so of course you can lean. You've got leaning options. Otherwise, you've got the same, I mean, you've got a lot more head articulation options with him. So his head is way more articulated. Shoulder-wise, you've got a butterfly hinge. You can see it in there, right? So he can not only T-pose, but then he can take the arm up higher. Not a lot, but a little bit, right? But he can also take it across and back. So you got your bicep. I mean, of course, oh, I missed it. You can't go 360 on them because of the cloth. Whereas on him, you can 360 all day. That's to be expected. Same thing with the bicep. Same thing with the double edge, or not double edge, why do I keep saying that? Double joint elbow. You've got more range, of course you're going to. He doesn't have fabric holding him in the holding him back. Well, I shouldn't say holding him back. He doesn't have fabric that he has to compete with in terms of articulation. So you should expect a figure with no fabric on him to have a little more articulation than a figure that does. So that makes, you know, total more sense, right? Of course, same kind of hinge joints as the other for the wrist. For this joint, I mean, you've got a beautiful, beautiful crunch forward. Just very well done. Back, the only thing is you get, as I say, some gapping. You can see in there and just barely see the joint, but otherwise, you've got a far lean, so you can utilize it. You can utilize the lean front and back and not mess it up, make it feel too bad. You've got your turning at the hip there, right? You can utilize that crunch a little forward. You can utilize that crunch just a touch back, so when you mix them both together, boom, there's your full bend, right forward. Now, this piece is a floating piece attached, I want to say at the back, right? Yeah, it's attached at the back. It's a floating piece in the front, so as you can see, wiggle, wiggle. You can turn the top, and you can mostly turn the bottom. So you want to spend a little more time turning the top if you're trying to get an extreme turn pose, right? Makes sense? Good. Okay, they have drop down legs, so he can kick. Get about the same boot range. It's not bad at all for a boot. You've got your thigh swivel. Oh, popped out, but there I can see inside. Okay, thigh swivel. Good thing is they're ball joints. They pop right back in. Double jointed knee. You can't, if you look, because of the way the muscles are actually sculpted, which is very well done. He can't kick himself in the butt, but it looks very natural if you get to a hard bend pose on him. So in pictures it will look natural, it will look nice. Yeah, so, and not bad gapping in the knees like you can see with some figures. Unlike our Mezco counterpart, we do not have a boot cut. We do have the ankle peg, and we have a pretty good, I don't know if you call it a rocker, as much as it's a straight pin that comes down and in that most Mafex do. So, what you can get here and here. Now I will say for me, it's an odd choice. I think I get why they did this, the flap here, but not on the inside. So you see the flap on the outside, one on the inside. I don't understand why they did it. I think I get it. I think it's just coverage for a side picture or side profile, but for me it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm not particularly a fan of it. I would like to have had that cover around both sides personally, but that's just me, but whatever. And then you get a little toe hinge, and I never care about the toe hinges on anything. It's probably something me and Anthony Customs would get along on very well. Why are they there? Anyway, so that is the articulation of him. Oh, and I guess if you want to count the bendy wire cape, it's pretty good. It's pretty good if you want to, boom. Want to make it look like the wind is blowing and he's walking towards you, kind of deal. Right quick, just gotta punch this in before we go to the next part because I'm a doofus. But when I was doing the articulation, I forgot to see how far the legs would go. We did talk about this, and this is probably the second biggest example, actually the biggest example of the articulation hindrance because of the fabric. But at the same time, you got a really, really good split and then a really big gap there. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of one half dozen the other. You sacrifice a look for articulation or vice versa, especially in poses like that. But Batman's not doing any of these poses, especially not Batman at this age. But yeah, I just had to edit that in because stupid forgot. So, I mean, getting into this final verdict, it really comes down to what you're looking for in aesthetic. If you are looking for a figure that's going to look good, you like the Mezco line, you're going to love the Mezco figure. I think he's a fantastic figure. I'm very happy to have him. I in no means think that he is a inferior figure. I just think that, I mean, being that he was early in the Mezco line, there was a lot of mistakes Mezco made that now if they went back and revisited the figure would be, I mean, just 20, 30, 100 times better than 1,000 times better even. I mean, you take the principles of what they did with the Supreme Knight and apply those to doing an accurate version of the Dark Knight Returns comic, and I think they would probably have the most superior figure out on the market in terms of that. But in terms of what we have to work with, and I'm not complaining, I like Mafex more. I feel like it's a little more accurate. I love the wrinkles. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this material. It's a little restrictive. You don't get all the physical details in the body. It can look weird depending on what pose you put it in. Whereas I love the wrinkles. I love the texture of the Mafex. I think it's just a superior figure. But yeah, so my opinion there, go Mafex if you're looking at my video, or if you have the option, get both. But either way, get what makes you happy. Please smash the like button, please share, please subscribe, and I hope most of all, please enjoy this video and enjoy your collection and enjoy other collectors. Get out there and find other collectors with opinions, share your reasons, do it respectfully, but be good people, be good to each other. This has been another Dorkfish collection review, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Later, y'all.